All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the CAA Live Town Hall event, a look at Belleville, the importance of road repair. My name is Doug Stevenson. I'm the Executive Director of the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board. My organization works to attract both tourists and residents to this great region, including Brighton, Belleville, Napanee, the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte, Quinte West. So as you can imagine, tourists and residents tend to use roads. So I'm very excited to be your moderator today for the event. And did you know, the CAA Worst Roads annual campaign has been influencing change in communities across Ontario for the last 17 years. It's a platform for all road users to highlight to their local government where they believe roads are in most need of repair. And you know, funding from roadway improvements needs to be consistent to ensure that quality and safety is maintained. Because of the pandemic too, it's even more important to ensure that these arteries that move all of our essential workers, our goods and our services are in great condition. We also need to ensure that our roads are in good repair to be ready for the economic recovery when the time comes. So today's virtual town hall is going to consist of several presentations by our speakers, followed by a question and answer period. And throughout the presentations, we're going to be doing audience polls. And you can participate right on your screen. So you just look right over on the right-hand side there. If you've got a question for one of our panelists also, you can submit these questions in that box over to the right. We got the CAA team working hard behind the scenes. They're going to try and get me as many of the questions as possible before this town hall is over. Now, quick note, this webinar is being recorded. After, it's going to get posted online. We're also going to be emailing you a link to access the video in the days following this webcast. So not to worry, there are many ways for you to view it again, should you please. Now, at the end of this town hall, you're going to want to visit caaworstroads.com. Why? Because that's where you nominate the roads you think are most in need of repair. Voting's open until Sunday, April 18th. That's 2021, by the way. And you can vote daily, which you're going to want to do because did you know every single vote is a chance to win free gas for an entire year? Who doesn't want to win that? So vote daily. Okay, as mentioned, we want to make this virtual town hall as interactive as possible. So several times throughout the session, we're going to be doing some live polling. We want to get a pulse on your thoughts. To participate, you just go to the polling tab on your screen. It's just to the right of the questions tab. Also worth noting, if you're on rural internet, your video quality is poor, click on the click here to switch stream. Then you can view the alternate stream. And if you're having any other technical issues, you can just click on request help on the top right corner of the webcast page. Your help request will then be emailed back to the email address you provided. So if you got a burning question to ask, click on the questions tab, click on the questions button, a new window is going to open up. You type your questions right in there. Those then go to the moderators for later on. And by the way, you can ask a question at any time during the webcast. So now I would like to introduce our esteemed guest panel for today's virtual town hall. First up, Raymond Chan, who is the Manager of Government Relations at CAA South Central Ontario, where he oversees a team that's responsible for transportation-related advocacy and stakeholder relations with the provincial government and Ontario's municipalities. Since 2016, Raymond has been the public face of the annual CAA Worst Roads campaign, and he's often asked to provide perspectives on municipal infrastructure and maintenance. He is always in search of the next road that's most in need of repair. Next up, Joseph Reed, who has 20 years of progressive experience in the field of municipal transportation and operations management, working at the City of Belleville. As part of his role as General Manager of Transportation and Operations Services, he oversees public works, transit operations, parks and open spaces, and fleet operations. Joe's a certified engineering technologist and a certified road supervisor. He's also heavily involved in a number of professional organizations like the Ontario Good Roads Association, TJ Mahoney Road Schools, District 8 Road Supervisors Association, Eastern Lake Ontario Parks Association, Ontario Public Transit Association, and he's currently the second vice president of the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors. And lastly, Dr. Dobra Mbawe is a professional engineer in the province of Ontario and technical director for the Ontario Road Builders Association and the Ontario Asphalt Pavement Council. He has developed extensive and practical experience in asphalt research and technical studies and pavement engineering consulting services. His work specifically supports all technical requirements to promote the quality use of hot mix asphalt and all other road building materials, as well as construction best practices in general. Dr. Mbawe holds a PhD in civil engineering from the University of Waterloo. He's co-authored several papers and is involved with consultations, training, and service delivery geared towards promoting the growth of Ontario's transportation infrastructure industry. That's the panel, folks. Now, before we get started on the first presentation, let's warm up with a couple of audience polls. Okay, so we would love to know, we're going to start it off easy here, folks. We'd love to know, where's everyone tuning in from today? So open up the interactive polling on your mobile phone, on your desktop, your tablet, pick the region from the multiple choice list: GTHA, Western Ontario, Southwestern Ontario, Eastern Ontario, this Belleville area, the Quinte region, Ottawa region, or Northern Ontario. We got some GTHA logging in already. You know, while the poll results come in, of course, we've got recent announcements about travel in Ontario and how we can move about the province and different regions. Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board, as a planning tool, is releasing our 7th edition Discovery Guide tomorrow. So go over to bayofquinte.ca/discovery guide. You can read it online. We're going to be distributing it virtually for now. And we're also trying to help people enjoy a staycation every month. Head on over to bayofquinte.ca/staycation and enter to win. We're giving away a $500 staycation every single month through the summer. Who wouldn't want to do that? And then when you hit that staycation page, you're going to see places where you can move around, blogs about local entrepreneurs, all sorts of activities you can do. So far we're getting about 50% from the Belleville area, the Quinte region, about 50% from the GTHA. Thank you so much for participating in that first poll, but hopefully you haven't closed your polling window just yet, because we got one more warm-up poll for you. Have you voted in CAA's Worst Roads campaigns in previous years? Tricky options here: yes, no, or you've never heard of it before today's webinar. So we got some folks who have voted in there. While we're waiting again for these results to pour in, a couple of fun facts for you. A study conducted ahead of CAA's Worst Roads campaign in 2019 stated 71% of people surveyed said they were concerned about the condition of roads. That makes sense. 60% of respondents didn't believe that roads are being repaired in a timely manner. Now, what's interesting here, the study also found, while most people regularly see roads in need of repair, only 67% stated they took no action to get them repaired. So that's a lot of people not taking any action. In my opinion, this really enforces the need for the CAA Worst Roads campaign to bring awareness to the importance of good roads in all our daily lives. Okay, so quick check on the polling results. We got about a 50-50 split almost between yes, you voted, or no, you haven't. And some haven't heard of it before. Well, folks, with that, I'm going to now invite Raymond Chan, our first presenter, to share how CAA's Worst Roads campaign has influenced change for almost 2 decades. Raymond, take it away.
Well, thanks, Doug, and thanks everyone for being here on the call today. Such a great time to talk about infrastructure improvements and the need for it across local communities here in Ontario. So I'm Raymond Chan. I'm the Manager of Government Relations and the face of the CAA Worst Roads campaign. We've been doing this campaign now across the province of Ontario for 17 years now. It's a grassroots initiative and community driven. It provides a platform for all Ontarians to nominate roads of concerns. Each and every spring, we run the campaign because we want to know where those problem areas are in local communities. We encourage people to nominate bad roads at CAAWorstRoads.com. And then in turn, we gather these results and figure out regionally where the problem areas lie so that we can begin to have conversations with government and to work with our stakeholder groups about how to get these particular roads repaired. So what constitutes as a bad road, you might wonder? Well, it's a number of things. Traditionally, it's been potholes and crumbling pavement, and that's really no surprise now that we're in the springtime season with the winter thaw having now finished, and we see the crumbling pavement day after day during our daily commutes. But it's really a full campaign, not only about potholes, but also other aspects of your daily commute. It could encompass congestion, missing or confusing road signs. It could be inadequate cycling or pedestrian infrastructure as well. All these things constitute bad roads. And we encourage, no matter your mode of transportation, whether or not you drive a car, you're riding a bike, you're walking around, or even taking transit in and around town, everyone's got a beef and has something to say about local roadways. So in a typical year, we do see about 3,500 individual roads that are nominated across the province of Ontario. I'd say that's a substantial number. That only provides a small overview about truly what the problem areas are across the province. But it really provides that snapshot for decision makers, hopefully, and elected officials as they're undergoing things like budget deliberations each and every year. Next slide, please. So we do regularly poll our CA membership as well as the general public on their thoughts about transportation in general, but also about infrastructure and overall maintenance with municipalities. You'll see here the first stat that we commissioned a public opinion survey back in 2019. Some of the results actually aren't overly surprising. 78% of people that responded often saw roads that were in need of repair. We all see it on a daily basis, whether you're driving to and from work, you're running errands, or you're going to and from school. Everyone has some issue with their roadway. Out of that, 55% of respondents often actually saw roads being repaired. This is a great sign, especially as we into the spring season right now and heading into the summer. A lot more construction activity is going to be done out there on our roadways, and we want to encourage people to really, again, begin to have these conversations with friends and family and government about having to get these roads fixed. The final stat here is a little bit concerning as well. You'll see there on your screen that 40% believe that roads were being repaired in a timely fashion. We at CA obviously want to see this number go up a little bit more. There's a lot of work to do here, but what I will say is that governments and municipalities like the City of Belleville have to prioritize their infrastructure. I mean, municipalities are responsible for 140,000 kilometers worth of roadways. That's a lot of roads that they have to maintain, that they have to fix up, have to resurface each and every year. They simply can't do it. With the limited amount of budgets that municipalities have, they have to make do with what they have and the limited resources. So certainly don't envy the position that they're in. And I'm sure that my next guest will speak a little bit more about that point as well. Next slide. I want to talk about community engagement here as well. We have seen some successes with the campaign. I put a couple of them here on the screen as some examples. A couple of years ago, a street by the name of Duckworth Street up in the Barrie area was slated for reconstruction. $3.3 million worth was allocated for that funding in that project to both resurface the roadway as well as replace the water main and fixtures underneath the road. And that's something that we do encourage with the campaign as well. Get all these municipalities thinking and talking about these projects and how to coordinate them. One of the big things that we hear from our CA membership is that you dig up the road one year and then you have it all repaved only for a utility contractor like Bell or Rogers to come in and tear the whole roadway up 2 years from now. So we want to try and avoid that. And we certainly encourage municipalities to look at coordination efforts and what that looks like so it provides less disruption for our motorists out there. There's another example, the town of Innisfil. They had St. John's side road, which used to be on the list for a number of years regionally. It was fixed up. Their advocacy efforts, and they tweeted our Twitter account saying, hey, we've listened to you. We've seen some of the roads that have come up in the top 10 list and the regional list as well. And we hear you, and we're working on it to try and get those repaved. So municipalities, I think, are listening, but it's also important for communities and neighbors to engage with one another as well. collectively as a strong voice and everybody saying the same things and pressuring, lobbying your municipal governments and the provincial government about more dedicated funding towards infrastructure, these are all going to go a very, very long way. And I would say that it's very important to get everyone involved in the campaign. We've seen grassroots initiatives from very small communities being successful in getting their roads repaved, and they credit the campaign for that very reason and for the reasons that they got it repaved. Next slide, please. I want to get into a little bit about the poor costs of roads and what that ultimately ends up costing motorists as well. Last week, the CAA actually released a study that showed the costs of poor road maintenance and infrastructure when it comes to additional costs for motorists each and every year. Big amounts here. It found that $3 billion, and I'll repeat that figure again, $3 billion across Canada in extra costs to motorists were identified because of poor road infrastructure. And this just really highlights the need for the proper maintenance and the planning when it comes to municipal infrastructure and funding from various levels of government, that we need to keep these conversations going. We know that vehicles are probably the second highest investment next to probably your home and your life. So we want to make sure that we minimize that impact and that damage to your vehicle. We also know that as vehicles become more sophisticated, with the rollouts of things like autonomous vehicles and electric vehicles, these components on these cars, should they be damaged, are going to be a lot more costly to replace. So it's very important that we invest right, and that we make sure we're pouring the right dollars in the right communities and where they actually need to be. To break things down a little bit, I mentioned the $3 billion aspect. That's an additional approximately $126 per year in additional costs that's out of the pockets of you, the people that are using our roadways. That's $126 less that you've got to use for your essential goods and services or your wants that you may want in life. And, you know, to put things into perspective as well, over an average 10-year lifespan of a vehicle, that's about $1,250 that's going to be out of your pocket. I often get asked the question, what's the appropriate amount that you want to invest in a roadway to make sure that it's efficient for all road users? That's difficult to say. It really varies from municipality to municipality. It depends on the composition of the material that goes into the asphalt in the roadway. What I will say is that $1 spent now is typically $5 to $6 saved later on. And if you compound that against all other municipalities across the province, that's a substantial amount of money that can be allocated towards other resources or other improvements within local communities. So the sooner that these deficiencies are addressed, the quicker that they can be resolved, and the more efficient and quicker you can get from point A to point B. When it comes to things like damages to your vehicle, I get asked this quite a lot, and we hear from our CA membership time and time again. What happens if I hit a pothole? Well, you've got a couple of options. Certainly, you can contact your local insurance provider, determine the type of coverage that's under your policy and whether or not they would cover any or all of your vehicle damage relating to going over potholes or crumbling pavement. I often hear from people that usually that's not the right route to go, because the amount that they're going to have to pay in their deductible probably far exceeds the amount in which your damage actually is. Well, there are other options available too. Most, not all municipalities across Ontario do have a program where you can submit your claim for assessment to determine whether or not the municipality was found negligent in causing any sort of vehicle damage. I can tell you that municipalities in Ontario must abide by something called minimum maintenance standards, which is in the Municipal Act here in the province of Ontario, where city crews have to be out there, you know, within a certain time frame. They have to inspect roads. They have to make sure that it's up to snuff in certain areas. And if they're not, they have to be repaired in a certain amount of time. What I will say is that municipal crews can't be out there and everywhere 24 hours a day, 7 days a week patrolling. So it's important for them, the public, to really identify where roadway improvements need to be made and to contact your municipality so that they can be actually fixed up as soon as possible. Because if they don't know where those problem areas are, if they haven't gotten to it in their routine patrols, chances are it's going to take quite a bit longer in order to get fixed. If you do hit a pothole, if you are thinking about submitting a claim, I would suggest documenting it quite well. Make sure you take relevant pictures of the damage to both your vehicle as well as the damage on the roadway that caused that damage to your vehicle. Make sure you note down things like what was the weather that day? What was the date that you hit that pothole? Is there any sort of witness information that you could get in order to verify your story? These are going to be very important components when it comes to submitting a claim to the city. And I'm sure my next guest will be able to speak a little bit further to that as well. But very important. I'm hoping that this provides you a bit of perspective on the importance of crumbling pavement and potholes and why the public should be engaged and advocate for more dedicated funding towards road improvements. And hopefully you can vote in CAA's Worst Roads campaign, which is at caaworstroads.com. And we're accepting nominations this year until April 18th. Thanks so much. I'll throw it back to Doug.
Well, thanks, Ray. And don't forget, vote as many times as you want each day, right? Every vote is maybe free gas for a year. So if you're just tuning in and you missed it, we're conducting some interactive polling through the show. To participate, you just go to the polling tab on your screen, which is just to the right of the questions tab. So next up, we want to know why you joined the virtual town hall today. A, I can't stand potholes. That's probably everybody. B, I want more bike lanes. C, I saw this advertised locally. And D, I want to understand more about how this affects my local municipality. And hey, while we wait for the results to come in, I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out our local CAA Belleville office and Rhonda LaFosse and her terrific team over there. And what a great team they are. They've been serving this community for years, and terrific connection with CAA as well, because we've got the almost brand new CAA arena, home to the Belleville Senators, the AHL Ottawa Senators farm team. Over $20 million went into this place to bring people in. And once we get out of the COVID-19 situation and the Sens can come home, we hope to welcome you to the CAA arena here in Belleville. All 5,000 seats, we need to fill them. So let's look at these polling results. Interesting, D coming in at the highest, wanting to understand more about how this affects my local municipality. Well, speaking of local municipalities, how about we move over to our second speaker, Joe Reed. He's the General Manager of Transportation and Operation Services at the City of Belleville. Joe, tell us what it's like to manage an entire municipality's largest and most important asset.
Well, thanks, Doug, for the great introduction. I'm quite excited to have the opportunity to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, which is roads. Specifically in what we're doing here in the City of Belleville. We'll go to the next slide. We'll start off with slide 2. So, roads make a significant contribution to our economic development, growth, and they bring social benefits to residents by having good roadways within your right-of-ways. They are vital to the importance in order to make communities grow and develop. For those reasons, road infrastructure is one of the most important public assets. And I want to stress the word public. The vast majority of roads in Ontario are owned by you, the public, who are ratepayers and taxpayers alike. They are public assets. Here in the City of Belleville, we have 950 lane kilometers of roadway that we manage and is owned by you, the taxpayer, through the municipality. So the next slide, please. So I think it's important to start off our conversation here about the hierarchy of roads in Ontario, and just help explain where Belleville fits within that hierarchy. We have such roads as the 401, we have Highway 62, 37, to the north 118. Those roads are under the jurisdiction of the province. They are contracted out from the MTO to the area maintenance contractors. We also then have regional roads or county roads. Here in Ontario, or here in Hastings County, we do not have a county roads network. In 1998, all the roadways that were formerly county roads were was disbanded, and it was downloaded to the local municipalities in which they reside in. And then we have our, our municipal roads. So these are our local streets, which includes, our township roads, our rural roads, our local streets, our busy arterial roads within the city, like Walbridge Loyalist, Bell Boulevard, North Front Street. And that's where Belleville fits into that. And then lastly, and not least, we do have private laneways and roadways. These roads are not the responsibility of the municipality. So those are private laneways and could be shared complexes, condos, and so forth. So on the next slide, we're just the minimum maintenance standards. Were developed to provide municipalities with a defense against liability from actions arising with regard to levels of care on roads and bridges. Regulation 23902 came into force in November of 2002, and it contains the minimum maintenance standards. What it did was give a level playing field for municipalities to provide a consistent standard across the province for maintenance. It should be noted that the minimum maintenance standards are done so on a voluntary basis, but if you do not follow it, it does open up the municipality to risk and a liability exposure. So that kind of gives a background of where we're at, and so from there we have tools that are in our toolbox and how we maintain these assets, these public assets, right? So I want to start off by here in the city of Belleville, one of our most useful tools is the roads needs study. It is a living document and provides us with information to make informed decisions on our current and existing road conditions of our roads. We completed one in 2015, 2018, and we will be updating ours in 2021. It helps us lay out work plans. It is, again, a tool in our toolbox to help us outlay work that needs to be done and keep our roads in a good state for repair. So on the next slide, there's different approaches that, municipalities can take when it comes to maintaining our roadways. You have your reactive versus proactive. And, it's always best to be proactive, right? But there are two options to consider. Do you want to be reactive or proactive? So you have things to consider. Preventative maintenance, it reduces and prevents future and more severe problems as proactive preservation strategies. Corrective maintenance, necessary to fix immediate problems, such as potholes. Traditionally does cost more than reactive. Preservation of roads and highway systems is very important due to budget constraints, which we're all under. The design life of pavement is often dependent on achieving a minimal level of maintenance to protect the capital dollars you invest in your infrastructure system. There's new asset management systems that are not only requirements for accountability, but to help us manage. Us road managers manage and understand why distresses are occurring. So as you see on the slide here, preventative maintenance savings. This slide shows an example that many people use when we look at asset management and being proactive. It shows spending $1 in preservation early in the life of the road will eliminate or significantly delay the spending of $6 to $10 in the same amount of rehab or construction later on in the asset's life. So we use this chart to help demonstrate the importance. So here are some tools that we use in Belleville, some tools in our toolbox. So as you can see, we spend approximately $60,000 in crack sealing. We have $50,000 spent towards Reclamite. $300,000 is earmarked for Slurry Seal and Micro Seal. And we spend $1.6 million on surface treatment and resurfacing and $1.35 on shave and pave. As you can see, we spend a significant amount of dollars and funds to preserve our roadway. And this does not include the reconstruction projects that are done through our engineering department. So I'll just talk about some of our processes that we use, just a little more in depth, so you have an understanding of what they are. So as you see on the slide here, crack sealing, it is considered a routine maintenance. There are a couple of different processes. There's the route and seal or the blow and go. Traditionally should be done within 2 to 5 years of the pavement's life. get on the roadway, fill in the cracks to allow, to stop any seepage of water in there to make cracks. Little cracks and potholes do develop into bigger potholes over time. So it's ideal to get into the roadway and protect that pavement early on in its life. Next, we do have a strategy of Reclamite. Reclamite is a low-cost, option that penetrates the pavement. It helps to slow the oxidization of the AC content in the pavement. It lasts about 5 to 7 years after the treatment. What it does, it rebalances the components of the asphalt cement and rejuvenates it. And it delays the aging, prevents cracking, and improves the road performance. It's kind of a neat product that it goes down pink, but it turns black over time. On the next slide, we have our Slurry Seal. As you can see here, there's some pictures of some of our urban streets in Belleville where we've applied some Slurry Seal products. Slurry sealing is applied over an existing asphalt pavement. It is used to seal the pavement, preventing rattling and improve the skid resistance. Typically applied in a single application as a nominal sized aggregate. It's essentially like driveway sealer, but with some fine aggregates and polymers and so forth added to it to be a little more robust than your traditional driveway sealer. You have, micro sealing as well that, it helps provides rut resistance, skid resistance, and overall protection to the existing surface. And micro seal can be applied in multiple layers as a scratch coat and then a final coat. So then we have a surface treatment. So surface treatment provides a waterproof surface, a skid resistance, and repairs minor defects. Relatively cost effective and provides a 5 to 7 years lifespan. We've been doing this for a number of years in our rural area with great success. We've been pulverizing. A lot of our rural roads were a little poorer condition, and what we ended up doing is pulverizing the existing tar and chip that was there, then adding 4 inches of A gravel, compacting. And then we do 2 layers of surface treatment followed by a fog seal. And, we find it very cost effective. We really like adding the fog seal on top because, essentially when you do tar and chip or surface treatment, there's a extra float. They refer to float as the extra stone that comes up, but the fog seal really does lock it all in there. So you get as much bang for your buck. We don't lose the aggregate into the shoulders. In our calls in for residents asking for their lawns to be raked up are minimal. Once those roads last 5 years, we've been into a strategy. We've been using then surface treatment as a preventative maintenance strategy, where after 5 years, we go in and then actually do a single surface treatment over top of those rural roads. And it's really been helpful to prolonging the life of the pave or the surface that we have there. Surface treatment is a layer followed by spreading. Surface treatment is a layer of tar followed by spreading of gravel over it to provide a nice wearing surface. And then in the urban area, we started last year doing a program where we go in and we pulverize the existing surface and then do just correct minor defects in grading, and then we add pavement on top of it to bring it back to a good state of repair. So the next slide is about shave and pave. This program is an intervention strategy to avoid total reconstruction. The road surface will be replaced. This includes milling asphalt, then resurfacing with a new top lifted asphalt to extend the life of the road as a whole. Includes readjusting manholes, adjusting catch basins, and doing any curb replacement to address any drainage issues and so forth to get rid of water ponding and so forth that occurs. Roads selected under this program, and all programs for that matter, have been aligned with our roads need study. So it's derived from that list. And lastly, is kind of our last thing that occurs is full reconstruction. And, this occurs when other strategies are beyond being helpful. If there is a need to replace underground services, such as water, sewer, or, as Raymond had spoke earlier about utility cuts like Bell and Rogers and so forth. And also, when the road base needs complete rehabilitation as well. This project does, though, take quite a few years of planning. We have to do soil testing, geotechnical, depending on the scope of the work, there's EAs. So, quite often those type of roads take quite a long time to get through the queue to get completed. So then we have our, an aspect that I think is important is public education. And I think, it's imperative to getting the public's buy-in about what we're doing and the benefits. Here is an example on the slide of a pamphlet that we hand out prior to us doing our Slurry Seal. It just lets residents know what are we doing, why we're doing it, and how it's important and beneficial. It helps promote asset management, and we also advertise in our local media about these projects, and we try to, obviously do road delays because, we don't want to inconvenience people as very much. So on the next slide. So in conclusion, I just, want to note, if the right maintenance treatments are applied at the right time, the right road, you will prevent and, delay the reconstruction portion of it. I'm very thankful that I have a very supportive mayor and council when it comes to preventative maintenance strategies and investing and knowing the importance of those investment into our roadways. So finally, I did put up my contact information. Feel free to contact me after the show if you have any questions or concerns. I'll pass it back over to Doug.
Well, thanks, Joe Reed. And, kind of brings a tear to my eye. It's time for the final polling question of our session. Okay, so we're going to ask you, have you had to repair your car or bike due to damages from a pothole? A, yes. B, no. My car has been damaged by a pothole, but I haven't fixed it yet. I don't have a car, but I've had to repair my motorcycle due to pothole damage. Or I don't have a car, but I've had to repair my bicycle due to pothole damage. So a lot of people saying no, which is great. That's good news. Joe Reed's doing his job around the city of Belleville, making sure that everything's running smoothly. Now with that, we're going to invite our third presenter, Dr. Dobra Mbawe, Technical Director of the Ontario Road Builders Association, to share about the technical details of road maintenance. Now, Dobra, can you tell us how the problem of premature cracking in Ontario's asphalt roadways is being managed? Hey, folks. Okay, we're going to jump to some audience questions. And actually, Joe Reed brought up a really good point in his presentation, talking about, the benefits of roadways to our local economy, to our social lives. And, for many of us, this pandemic has really changed our commute. It's changed our travel patterns. So maybe over to you, Joe. How can this change in driving behavior be an opportunity for road repairs and even for changing or upgrading the infrastructure?
Yeah, no, great question, Doug. And, through this COVID pandemic and so forth, we have seen a significant drop in road users within the city. It did allow, while there's always, the pandemic is absolutely awful, but there was some opportunities for us to achieve some advancement on our Bell Boulevard project ahead of schedule because of the less traffic. It didn't cause as many concerns. So, construction projects that we undertake with knowing that, we have to do deviations of traffic patterns and so forth. The less traffic has been an advantage to the city for achieving those goals.
Okay, we got questions coming in from the audience now. Thanks so much, folks. And anyone else who's watching can go ahead and ask questions. Here's one from Tom. As road conditions become more hazardous, can cities or municipalities expect higher insurance rates and higher payout coverage as risk increases? Anyone want to field that one?
I'll take that one, Doug.
Okay.
I can use the example of the city of Toronto. I know a number of years ago that the rate of claims going to municipalities was actually quite low. It started becoming higher as investments in road infrastructure simply weren't being directed towards those particular roadways. So as more claims are starting to be now submitted, the success rate of people being eligible for any sort of financial compensation has gone a little bit higher. I can't say that's the case for any and all municipalities, but certainly back to my presentation and my comments around the importance of investing $1 in road infrastructure is very important. I mean, I had mentioned a cost savings of $5 to $6, and I'm quite surprised to hear from Joe in his presentation that those cost savings are upwards of up to $10. So, you know, from a consumer, from a resident perspective, why wouldn't you want to encourage municipalities to invest as much as they can early on to circumvent and hopefully avoid some of these long-standing problems that may exist? So $1 spent is certainly about $10 saved. So I'm happy to hear that. And certainly we do encourage municipalities to dedicate more funding towards things like roadway improvements and take advantage of the lighter traffic patterns that exist now because of the pandemic. I should also mention that road workers were designated as essential workers by the Ontario government throughout the pandemic. So that work didn't stop. So let's keep that good work going and make sure that we help stimulate the economy by keeping these workers at work.
Thanks, Ray, for that great response. And it's interesting to know that piece about the essential workers. I didn't know that. Now, we had a few technical difficulties, but we got Dr. Dobra Mbawe back. He's going to pick up where he left off. Over to you, Dobra.
All right, thanks, Doug. Not sure exactly what happened there, but I'm glad to be back. So I was basically highlighting some of the problems, with, the solutions towards premature cracking, and I did note that premature cracking, the potholes don't just appear on our roadways. They as a result of, premature cracks that haven't, been revisited by some of those preservative and preventive maintenance strategies that Joe highlighted. And to deal with that, we basically look at the production of the mix, how the mix is placed, and also some of the in-service conditions, through which the road has to deal with. Next slide, please. All right, so one of the key things that your road users will actually experience, or one of the ways with which they basically assess the condition of the road is, the physical condition of the road, which will basically be those potholes that they see. But more importantly, it's also the right condition, when they ply those roadways with their vehicles. And of course, the impact to the vehicles as a result of those road distresses. And this is actually something that the road owners, the industry professionals, the engineers as it were, or the contractors who are also involved in the construction of the roadways are particularly concerned about. And to deal with that, we have to deal with the issue of quality. And specific to asphalt roadways, to address the issue of quality, we basically look at the durability of that mix. And durability is something that we take into consideration by properly selecting the materials that go into the construction of those roadways, the production of the mix, in this case asphalt, and the mix design for on which the product produced mix is based on, and more importantly, the constructability criteria as well. And to address all of this, there's what we call the need for different specifications. And this is basically one of the things I want to highlight as part of this discussion. And when we look at why pavements were cracking prematurely, this basically linked to all of the issues with the different aspects that go into the specifications and how those specifications for the roadways are implemented overall. Next slide, please. So just before I get into the details of the industry's quality of asphalt study, I want to basically highlight here that the discussions on premature cracking in Ontario is something that actually started in 2016 following the Ontario's Auditor General's report, which basically, alerted, the industry that this is basically what we're seeing on our roadways and we would like to fix it. So industry basically went back to the drawing board, and this is the Ontario Road Builders Association and the Ontario Asphalt Pavement Council. We basically came up with two documents. The first document there, it's a TTI report, which basically has all of the technical findings relative to the premature cracking problem in Ontario. And the Ontario Road Builders Association report, the KPMG report, basically summarizes the TTI report into technical findings and non-technical findings, as well as basic solutions with which we're dealing with the quality of asphalt and preventing premature cracking. Next slide, please. All right, so just to summarize, the key findings relative to premature cracking and also, prevent the development of potholes on our roadways were basically, summarized into three primary causes. The first one being the lack of bonding between the hot mix layers. You know that our roads are built in layers, and when these roads are not acting as one unit, and then the action of traffic comes, you have the action of the climate and the environmental conditions, all of these basically cause further disintegration and the propagation of cracks on our roadway, which, if not treated with those preventive or preservative measures that have been highlighted, we run into more problem. There's also the issues of, cracks reflecting from on the existing pavement layers, that is, as a result of conditions, on the underlying pavement layers, and if, they were not treated, they basically then propagate upwards. And finally, the issue of the asphalt mix itself. So basically, typically, Ontario, places a lot of dense graded asphalt mixtures, but the key finding here was that there was not enough of the asphalt cement, that is the glue that holds the aggregates together. So there was not enough of it, in the mixes that were being placed, and as a result of oxidation on our roadways and all other combining traffic climate action, we begin to lose the quality of that roadway, and these cracks that propagate. Next slide, please. So to address all of these issues, industry, came up with key top five priorities, and that those were actually based on or geared towards addressing both the non-technical and the technical findings, and also emphasize on the importance of ensuring that we have a good specification that have been put together, and more importantly, that those specifications are implemented as they should be, and in addition, ensuring that the processes involved in the road construction or the repair processes also adhere to best practices. And in the area of developing specifications, this is something that the industry doesn't do on its own. We do all of this in conjunction with our municipal partners, our provincial partners. So the key message here is that we need to find better ways of communicating to ensure that we're placing our roadways in accordance with the required best practices. Next slide, please. So as part of those top five priorities, our short-term goals were to improve those communication channels between us and within our provincial partners, or with our provincial partners so far. We think we have a good process in place to ensure that all of these challenges are addressed. What we want to see is a better way of communicating with our municipal partners, such as Belleville and all other municipalities within the province of Ontario, to ensure that we are also the contractors who are involved in your project are meeting the specifications that you have put together. But more importantly, all of the quality control processes, the quality assurance processes that are needed to ensure that the roads are built to last, and they satisfy their performance conditions are met. The one thing that Joe actually stressed was the use of those slurry seals, the use of the shave and pave method, basically preventive and preservative processes. But the other thing is, with regard to how the pavements were not bonding with one another, we are stressing the use of or the proper use of the tack coat specifications. Tack coat is basically the material that helps the pavement structure behave as a monolithic structure. So specifications around that are being redeveloped to ensure that the issues of premature cracking are managed and evaluated as needed. Next slide, please. So as you can tell, addressing the technical challenges are one thing. Addressing the non-technical challenges are one thing, but at the end of the day, the key objective here is to ensure that both the road owners and the industry professionals, have the right working documents to ensure that, both while the specifications are developed, the processes leading to implementing those specifications are also things that, everyone is happy with. So the Ontario Road Builders Association and the Ontario Asphalt Pavements Council, has come up with this top 10 list of ensuring durable asphalt. And we've basically developed fact sheets around all of these topics. As you can see, item number 1 here stresses do your homework, and as part of the panel discussion, I'll be stressing more on that. I just want to highlight that this document is available out there. If you just go to on Asphalt website and look under the publication and education section, and you will be able to download all of those recommendations and facts that we've put in place to ensure that our roads are being maintained in the way that they should go, but more importantly, ensuring that both contractors and both the road owners understand the processes that are in place to get this quality or the durability for those pavements. Next slide, please. And as part of our efforts towards quality asphalt, one of the findings of the TTI report, or the quality of asphalt report, as it were, was that there's actually a gap in knowledge in terms of expertise in how we complete the tests to verify that all the materials and the end product of the pavement, that are being placed are done accurately and done right. So to address that challenge, we basically come up with a program which is the National Binder Technician Testing course, and this course basically is something that is being organized by the Asphalt Institute in the US. So we've been able to form a partnership with them, as well as the University of Waterloo, to basically bring that program home to Canada, so that municipalities and all those interested in ensuring that the pavements are constructed right can also be a part of this and get the right knowledge, as it were, to ensure that their pavements are being constructed properly. In addition to that, we also have by the way, before I move forward on that thought, this program was basically supposed to have taken place before the start of COVID, but with COVID, we're basically pushing it hopefully into next year because of the in-person component, that is the laboratory testing component of the program. And hopefully, all the technicians that are going to be involved with this, and it's also highly recommended for the municipal owners, especially those who put the specifications together, to also be part of, the program, to understand, the test methods that they are recommending and how effective and how it should be completed to ensure that we achieve the desired goals of quality asphalt pavement. And moving on to the next dot, we also have a pavement inspector program in place as part of our Ontario Road Building Academy. We have a practical solutions and hot mix asphalt program in place, and a fundamentals of asphalt operations program in place. All of these are all intended to ensure that all stakeholders, that is owners and the contractors involved, and of course anyone who is interested in the technical aspects of road building and road maintenance, get the details that they need to be part of ensuring that premature cracks are not on our roadways, and of course ultimately solving the problems of potholes and any other pavement distresses. So I'll be happy to discuss all of these issues more technically with anyone who is interested. So if you like those discussions, feel free to reach out to me at the contact that are available on this slide. So on that note, Doug, I will pass it over to you.
Well, thanks, Dobra, and it's good to have you back, man. And that concludes the presentation portion of our program. We're going to go to audience question. Just about enough time for one question per presenter. Dobra, since we just left you there, I'm going to throw this one to you. Are there types of pavements and technologies that are better for some applications than others? And also, what are the considerations in picking the best technologies for a given application? like location, climate, budget, etc.?
Thank you very much, Doug. That's actually a very excellent question. And if I were to summarize, the simple answer to that question is yes. But let me elaborate a little bit more. And I will basically relate it back to one of those top 10 lists, specifically top 10 list number 1, which says do your homework. And proceeding on that thought, let us remember that we basically build our roadways from the ground up. Okay. Likewise, when we maintain our roadways or when we rehabilitate our roadways, we should be looking at it from the top down, right? In either of these focuses, we have different technologies, and those different technologies are also, specific to the type of pavement. Let us not forget the fact that, other than asphalt pavement, you also have concrete pavement. So definitely the technology you apply to an asphalt pavement might be difficult or could be different from what you apply to a concrete pavement. And in addition, you also have a composite pavement. A composite pavement is actually pavement that integrates both concrete and asphalt. Usually the asphalt is on the top of the concrete. Okay, so back to my point. We build these roadways with, in regard to different specifications. The specifications, specify the thicknesses and the type of materials that are used, in the production of the mixes or the thicknesses of that pavement. Climate is a huge factor in terms of, what technology you put in place. Traffic is also a huge factor. Okay, and all of these are basically intended to ensure that you are providing the right functional aspect of the pavement. That is, if you are viewing it, in terms of, top down, and then in terms of structure, if you're looking at it from the bottom up. But the most important thing is that all of these need to act as one to ensure that you have a pavement, okay, that can satisfy, its design life, the conditions for its design life. And Ontario being having a cold climate, so it's also another consideration in terms of how we select the materials and what aspect of PG grade in terms of the asphalt cement that goes into the mix itself. I don't want to be too technical at this point, but what I want to stress is the fact that with your asphalt or even your concrete pavement, when you're looking at its structural capacity, there's a technology which we call the falling weight deflectometer, right? This technology basically helps you assess, how strong that pavement structure is, and it looks at the individual layers, and of course the pavement structure as a unit, tell you how strong each of those components are to withstand the effects of traffic, to withstand the effects of climate, and all other variables, that could impact on its design life, right? To assess.
Hey, Dobra.
Yes.
We're trying to get in 2 more questions here really quickly. Any closing thoughts on this one, 10 seconds or so?
Yeah, absolutely. The point here is that different pavement types will require different technologies, but we basically implore on all of the municipalities, who come up with different rehabilitation technology strategies to ensure that they go through, proper investigations to basically decide what material component and what pavement technology and what pavement rehabilitation strategy needs to be implemented. And this will basically help them come up with the right specifications to ensure that that roadway performs as it's required.
Okay, thank you. Now quickly throwing to you, Joe, 30 seconds. Question from Milo. Construction delays and overrun budgets are an issue. It costs the taxpayer money and loss of productive hours. What can you do to prevent this? What do you do in Belleville, for example?
Planning. A good laid plan is the most effective plan, and building relationships with your contractors. Working with them to achieve the goals of both parties is important, and understanding that.
Terrific. Love the brevity. You nailed that. Under 30 seconds. One more for you, Ray. Again, 30 seconds. This one from Janet. For those who do not live in Belleville, how do we get help if our municipality is not responding to concerned residents?
That's a very good question. I mean, things like crumbling pavement and potholes know no boundaries. I mean, it exists everywhere in the province. What's great is that I think that you can rally and get behind a particular cause or issue in your community. Start things like a petition. Start getting your neighbors and your friends and family talking about what the problem area is, and highlight that as much as you can with your local elected official. What's great about next year as well is that we've got both a municipal and a provincial election as well. Depending on what happens with COVID, you probably won't have them knocking at your doorstep, but it's a great time to get involved in debates. Ask them questions. What are they thinking? What are they saying? What are they going to be doing about infrastructure funding in local communities should they be elected? I think this is a great time to hold those elected officials accountable and to really listen to their plans about what they're doing and thinking and saying about infrastructure as a whole.
Terrific. Thanks, Ray. And folks, a quick reminder, the CAA Worst Roads campaign is on now through to April 18th. You go to CAAWorstRoads.com to nominate the roads you think are most in need of repair. Well, we want to thank everybody for taking some time out of their busy day to learn more about this important issue. You know, all road users have an important role to play alongside local and provincial government in maintaining quality roadways in Ontario. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for participating in the polling. That was fun, and asking questions to the panelists. And we also want to thank our panelists. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Dobra. Thanks, Ray, for joining us today and providing perspectives on the importance of road maintenance in Ontario. Now, in lieu of an honorarium, CAA will be making donations to two Belleville area organizations, the Three Oaks Foundation and the Gleaners Food Banks. Three Oaks provides community-based emergency shelter and crisis support services for women and their children who have experienced abuse so that they may live free of violence. And Gleaners Food Bank is a member of Feed Ontario and Food Banks Canada and works very closely with these organizations, local businesses, local farmers, and food distributors to bring donated food into their organization. And did you know Gleaners Food Bank operates the Tri-County Warehouse that serves 7 other area food banks, multiple nonprofit agencies, and other organizations. Now, with that, we say thanks again for joining us. My name is Doug Stevenson. On behalf of the panelists, of course, CAA, we hope you have a great rest of your afternoon. See you later.